Is the OnePlus Nord N300 5G worth buying in 2023? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin here, and this is the OnePlus Nord N300 5G. Now, this device is not necessarily that old of a phone. In fact, it did launch in November of 2022. But that being said, now that we're in the new year, I figured that I'd make a video kind of looking back on this device to kind of reassess on whether or not it's still a good option. Now, of course, the phone itself is pretty much unchanged since it was launched, but at the same time, there's always new devices reaching the market, and there's more competition now than ever before. Now, for the latest pricing and availability for the OnePlus Nord N300 5G, definitely take a look at the various links in the video description, as that does tend to change as time goes on, but I know that this phone is very popular over at T-Mobile and Metro by T-Mobile, and I know at least at Metro, you can get this phone for just $39.99 with a new line. So I'd imagine that most people that end up getting the OnePlus Nord N300 5G won't actually be paying full price for the device itself. Now, before I show you a variety of different things about the phone, let's see what all comes included here in the box. So here is the box. You can see right there, N300. Then inside we have a quick start guide. We have a SIM card removal tool. Then also further into the box itself, we have even more items. We have a 33-watt USB wall adapter, which is really impressive, especially for a lower end phone like this one. You can recharge it very quickly. And then we also have a USB-C cable for charging and data transfer. So it is really cool though that we do have this included charger. Like I said, not only is it a very fast charger, but at the same time, it's great that we even have it included at all, because that's kind of a rare thing to find nowadays with smartphones. Now with this device, we're getting a very large 6.56-inch display. Now the display itself is IPS LCD, and it does feature a 90 Hz refresh rate, so a bit smoother of an experience here compared to other devices, especially in the budget segment, which tend to only feature 60 Hz. Now, unfortunately, this display is only 720p, but that being said, it is decently crisp and clear, and also colors are not too bad either. Now, we are getting a PPI of 269, a 20:9 aspect ratio, so a more narrow but taller form factor, and we're getting an 84% screen to body ratio. Now we do unfortunately have a water drop notch up top here, and also a slightly thicker bottom bezel, but in general, this phone does have a very large canvas here with the display being as big as it is, and, generally small bezels too. One thing's for sure though, the general design of this device is not really anything too special. I've reviewed dozens of phones over the years from a variety of different companies that have the same design with the thicker bottom bezel and the water drop notch. So I know that most people, and especially in the budget segment, are not looking for a phone that necessarily has a very interesting or innovative design, and they just want a phone that just works and gets the job done. But at the same time, I definitely wanted to point out that the design here isn't anything too special or interesting. Now, taking a look at the back of the phone, we do have kind of a different camera module here, which is nice, but other than that, it's really nothing too special. Now with this phone, we do have a 16 megapixel front-facing camera, and take a look at my full review video of the OnePlus Nord N300 5G to see a variety of different photo and video samples from all the various cameras on the device. Now internally, with this phone, we're getting 64 gigabytes of storage along with microSD card expansion. Now 64 gigs for a lower end phone like this one is pretty generous, but at least it is nice to know that if you happen to fill up the majority of that space, you can always offload photos and videos, for example, onto the microSD card. Now, unfortunately, with the OnePlus Nord N300 5G, there is no wireless charging, but this phone does feature a fingerprint sensor on the power button. So let's give that a try, and you can see that was very fast and responsive. Let's try that one more time. And it's very reliable. Now, in addition to having the fingerprint sensor, we also have Face Unlock. So I do appreciate that we have multiple methods here for accessing the device. Now in the back of the phone, we do have a dual camera setup featuring a 48 megapixel main camera and a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera for portrait mode. So unfortunately, there is no ultra wide angle camera with the OnePlus Nord N300 5G, and that's certainly a feature that I do tend to use quite a bit with any device that does actually have it. Now here's how things look on the camera app on the device. This is with the main rear camera right now. Then from here, we can go over to portrait mode to get those nice blurred out backgrounds that I know that everybody's a big fan of. Then we can also flip around to the front facing camera to take portrait selfies, and then we can also capture standard selfies as well. Now heading over to video mode, Video recording is limited to 1080p, so unfortunately there is no 4K video recording for either the front or rear cameras. Now with this phone, we're getting 4GB of RAM paired up with the MediaTek Dimensity 810 processor. Now that processor in general does provide some pretty decent performance, definitely for the most common tasks you do with a smartphone, such as phone calls, text messages, watching video content, going on social media. All those things will be great with this device. However, if you are somebody that's constantly on your phone, maybe your phone's also a major part of your business, then you might want to get something a bit more advanced and more capable. But for the majority of people out there that just want a phone for the main fundamentals, I do feel like this phone is adequate. Now, I did run a benchmark test using Geekbench 5, and I'll show you the scores in that test right now. But essentially, I got a single core score of 595 and a multi-core score of 1765. So what I recommend doing is running this test on your current phone and then compare your scores to these scores to get a better idea of whether or not the OnePlus Nord N300 5G is actually going to be a performance upgrade for you, because it is possible that this phone could be slower than the phone that you currently have. Now with this device, we do have a very large 5000 mAh internal battery, and as I mentioned earlier on in the video, this phone does support up to 33 watt fast charging. So of course it is great having such a large battery, but if you can't recharge that battery quickly, then it can be very frustrating, as it would take a very long time to recharge the phone. So thankfully, due to that 33 watt compatibility, you'll be able to easily recharge this device very rapidly, and at the same time have the phone itself last for a long period of time. Now another awesome thing about this phone too is that we are getting NFC. So if you do like to make mobile contactless payments using tap and pay, using services such as Google Pay for example, then you can do that here with this phone. But now that I've gone over a variety of the different features and specifications that we're getting here with the OnePlus Nord N300 5G, let's take a closer look at the hardware itself. Now I already talked quite a bit about the front panel here, but in general, nothing too special. At least I do appreciate that we are getting a pretty decent looking display. Then on the left side of the phone, we have the slot for the microSD card and SIM card, volume up, volume down. Then on the right side, we have the power button, which doubles as the fingerprint sensor. Then up top here, we have the noise canceling microphone. And then on the bottom of the device, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, microphone, USB-C port for charging and data transfer, and we have the speaker. And then on the back of the phone, we have that dual camera setup, and then the OnePlus logo. Now, this material on the back of the phone is kind of a matte black finish. However, it doesn't necessarily feel that of high quality, but at the same time, in general, this phone doesn't really feel cheap either. Now, considering that it is a lower end Android device, they definitely made the most of the materials that they had to work with here, within a certain budget, I'd imagine. But I do recommend pairing this phone up with some sort of case, just so the plastic doesn't get very scratched up as time goes on. But in general, I do think the OnePlus Nord N300 5G is still a very worthy option, worth considering. Definitely head over to the carrier stores though to see what deals they're offering, as they typically offer phones like this one for a fraction of the price compared to the full MSRP. Typically in exchange for switching into their service, but at the same time, if that's something you're going to do anyway, then you may as well take advantage of those deals. But this concludes my video on the OnePlus Nord N300 5G in 2023. Definitely curious to know what you think of this device. But with all that said, this is Kevin here, and I will see you in the next one.